When you want to stay in her mind around the clock, you have to understand that memory isn't just about facts. It's about feelings. People don't hold on to every word you say. They hold on to the way you made them feel in the moment. If you can be the person who brings her a sense of comfort when she's anxious, a burst of laughter, when her day is heavy, or a spark of excitement, when things feel routine, you begin to carve a space in her mind that no one else can easily replace. This isn't about grand gestures every day. It's about the subtle, consistent moments where you tune in to her emotional state and respond in a way that leaves her feeling understood, valued, and seen. When she starts to associate your presence with an emotional shift, whether it's calm in her chaos or lightness in her seriousness, you're no longer just someone she talks to. You become the emotional anchor she naturally gravitates toward. The key is to genuinely connect rather than perform, because authenticity is what creates depth. Over time, those emotions become little mental bookmarks tied to you. The smell of coffee might remind her of your morning conversations. A song might transport her to a shared moment. A phrase might echo the way you once made her laugh. And the more you embed yourself in the emotional landscape of her life, the harder it becomes for her to go through her day without encountering a reminder of you. It's not about controlling her thoughts. It's about earning a place in them through moments that truly matter. The most unforgettable people are not the loudest or the most constant, but the ones who touch us in ways we can't help but revisit. If you want to stay in her mind, you have to give her something worth replaying when you're not there. The mind loves a little mystery. It lingers on unanswered questions, on stories that feel unfinished, people who seem to have more layers than they reveal all at once. Too often, we rush to show every card, thinking transparency will make someone feel closer. But it's actually curiosity that keeps them coming back. When you speak, don't just talk about facts and details. Paint pictures that leave space for her imagination to wander. Share moments from your life that hint at more beneath the surface. Stories that make her wonder, what happened next? When you interact, be present, but don't be predictable. Let her see flashes of different sides of you so she can't box you into a simple label. Think of it like writing a book she can't put down. Each chapter ends in a way that makes her eager for the next. That intrigue doesn't come from being distant or aloof, but from weaving a natural rhythm of sharing and holding back, giving her just enough to feel connected, yet leaving room for her mind to fill in the blanks. This is how someone starts thinking about you while they're driving in the middle of work or lying in bed at night. They're not trying to remember you. They're trying to solve the puzzle of you. And the truth is, the longer she's intrigued, the more invested she becomes in figuring you out. The people who live rent free in our minds are rarely the ones who tell us everything. They're the ones who make us want to know more. If you really want to stay in her mind, you have to speak to the part of her that most people overlook. The part beyond her favorite color, the kind of movies she likes, or the way she takes her coffee. Those things are easy to find out. They don't set you apart. What does is understanding the desires that live under the surface, the values and dreams that she may not even share openly. You have to listen differently, not just to her words, but to the moments where her voice changes, where her eyes light up, where she pauses because something matters more than she wants to admit. Relationship you're in. Maybe it's the way she talks about wanting to travel, but what she's really seeking is a sense of freedom. Maybe it's her love for books, but what she's really drawn to is the escape into other worlds. When you connect with those deeper layers, you're not just another person in her orbit. You're someone who sees the blueprint of who she is. And that kind of recognition is rare. It creates a bond that lingers because she feels understood in a way she didn't expect. This is why she'll think of you in moments when you're nowhere around. Because the things you talk about together go beyond the surface. You've made her feel like the truest parts of her are noticed. And in a world where so many people only pay attention to the obvious, that becomes unforgettable. The truth is, when someone feels seen for who they really are, they can't help but carry that person in their mind. There's a certain power in leaving things just a little unfinished. Not in a manipulative way, but in a way that invites her to linger on the thought of you. We live in a world that's obsessed with instant answers, quick closures, and neat endings. But the human mind doesn't hold on to what's resolved. It holds on to what's incomplete. Think about a movie you've watched that left you with an open ending. Days later, you're still turning it over in your head, wondering what really happened. You can create that same effect in your interactions. It might be ending a conversation when it's still flowing, leaving her curious about what else you would have said. It could be sharing a glimpse into a story, but not every detail. Letting her imagination fill in the rest. It could be creating moments that are so alive and vivid that she wishes they had lasted just a little longer. That desire for what's next plants a seed, and while you're away, it grows into thoughts, questions, and scenarios that keep you present in her mind. The key is to do this naturally, without forcing it, because if it feels calculated, the magic is gone. You're in. You're not playing games. You're simply respecting the fact that the best connections are built in layers, not delivered in one sitting. Leaving a little space between the notes makes the music more beautiful. And when you master that rhythm, you become the story she keeps wanting to finish. When you want to stay in her thoughts, one of the most powerful ways is to align with the way she sees the world. People naturally feel closer to those who share their values, their sense of humor, their vision of what matters. It's not about pretending to agree with everything she believes. It's about finding the real, authentic overlaps between your perspective and hers and letting those connections breathe. When you listen to her talk about life, pay attention to what gets her passionate or protective. Notice the principles she stands by without even thinking. Maybe it's fairness. Maybe it's kindness. Maybe it's ambition. When she senses that you understand those foundations, you stop being just another person in her social sphere. You start becoming someone who feels like home. And here's the thing, alignment doesn't mean sameness. It can also mean complementing her worldview in a way that expands it, showing her perspectives that don't threaten her values, but deepen them. That creates a dynamic that feels both safe and stimulating. Over time, this resonance builds a subtle trust. She begins to feel that you get her without her needing to over-explain. That trust is what keeps your presence alive in her mind, because she associates you with a rare kind of connection where she feels both understood and inspired. And when someone feels that, they don't easily let it go. There's a rhythm to staying in someone's mind, and it's not about constant presence. It's about knowing when to lean in and when to step back. Too much availability can make even the most meaningful connection feel ordinary, while too much distance can make it fade altogether. The magic happens in the balance. When you're with her, be fully there. Engage in a way that makes the moment rich, memorable, and impossible to blur into the background of her day. But then allow space for her to miss you, to feel the quiet where your presence used to be. That absence isn't a void. It's the echo of what you've given her. It's in those between moments that thoughts of you grow stronger, not weaker, because she's reliving the highlights in her mind, replaying the laughter, the glances, the way you made her feel. This back and forth creates a natural pool, a dynamic where each reunion feels like a continuation of something she's been anticipating. The key is to make your presence valuable enough that your absence is noticed, not in a way that causes doubt or insecurity, but in a way that makes the heart lean forward, eager for the next encounter. When you can create that kind of rhythm, you're not just part of her schedule. You become part of her emotional pulse.